When I was in middle school, our building was almost 50 years old. It had one of those long hallways that never seemed to end, and a basement that no one really talked about. Teachers told us the basement was for maintenance only, but that just made everyone more curious. One afternoon, detention ran late. It was just me, another kid named Tyler, and Mr. Henson, the vice principal. He stepped out to make a phone call, and Tyler dared me to follow him downstairs. I didn't want to look scared, so I said yes. The stairwell was narrow and cold. The lights flickered the deeper we went. At the bottom was a thick metal door, scratched and dented like someone had tried to get out. There was a sign that said, "Do not enter, electrical room," but the padlock was broken. Image 4. The footsteps seen. Tyler pushed the door open, and a wave of damp, metallic air hit us. The room stretched into darkness. Old desks, broken chairs, and janitor buckets lined the walls. Then we both froze. There was the sound of footsteps. Slow, heavy, dragging footsteps from somewhere deeper inside. Tyler whispered, "Someone's down here." We turned off our phone lights and hid behind a desk. The steps stopped, then started again, closer. A faint breathing echoed, raspy and labored. I caught a glimpse of something pale, a face maybe, peeking from behind an old boiler. We bolted up the stairs, not daring to look back. When we burst into the hallway, Mr. Henson was already there, furious. He locked the door behind us and said quietly, "You shouldn't have gone down there. That room hasn't been opened in years." He never explained what he meant. But the next week, that whole stairwell was sealed off with wooden boards. And every time I walked past it, I swore I could still hear faint footsteps underneath. Back in high school, I had an English teacher who never missed a day, Mr. Clark. He was the kind of teacher everyone liked. But one Monday, the principal said he'd called in sick. We were getting a substitute for the week. When she walked in, the whole class went silent. She was tall, with jet black hair and a face that looked off somehow. Her name was Ms. Heller, and she never smiled. Her voice was low and strange. It didn't match her face. During class, she'd just sit and watch us. Not in a casual way. She'd stare, unblinking, like she was studying something invisible. When someone asked about Mr. Clark, she said, "He won't be back for a while." By Thursday, things got weird. Students claimed they saw her in places she shouldn't have been. The gym, the library, even the parking lot, all at the same time. And during roll call, she'd sometimes say a student's name before they even walked in. On Friday, I stayed late to finish an essay. When I left the classroom, the halls were empty, except for her. She was standing at the far end, motionless, facing me. I called out, "Ms. Heller?" She tilted her head slightly like an animal would. Then she started walking, slow, steady, heels echoing down the hall. Her shadow stretched unnaturally long behind her. I turned a corner and ran straight into the janitor. When I looked back, she was gone. The next Monday, Mr. Clark was back. We told him about the substitute, but he looked confused. He said he'd never called in sick. The school had no record of any substitute that week. Even the attendance sheet had only his signature. To this day, no one knows who Ms. Heller was or what she wanted. But sometimes late at night, when I dream about that hallway, I see her standing there again. Our high school sat on the edge of a quiet forest, and behind the gym was a classroom no one liked using, room 108. Teachers said the lighting was bad, but students claimed otherwise. They said sometimes when the lights were off, someone would still be sitting at the back desk, staring out the window. I was assigned detention there one evening for skipping class. It was just me and the detention supervisor, Mrs. Porter. She gave me a worksheet and left to grab papers from the office, saying she'd be back in 10 minutes. As soon as she left, the air felt heavy, like the room itself was listening. The classroom had one large window overlooking the woods. It was already dark outside, and the trees moved slightly in the wind. I remember hearing something faint, a tapping on the glass. I thought it was just a branch. The tapping got louder. I turned to look, and my heart dropped. Someone was outside, standing completely still, pressed against the window. Their face was pale, their eyes wide open, like they'd been staring in for hours. The glass fogged slightly with each breath. I couldn't move. Then the lights flickered once. And when they came back, the figure was gone. Mrs. Porter came back moments later, confused why I looked terrified. I pointed at the window and told her what I saw. She frowned and said, "That's impossible. That window doesn't face the ground." "It's on the second floor." I ran to the window and looked down. She was right. Below was nothing but the slanted roof of the gym. No trees tall enough for anyone to stand there. A few weeks later, room 108 was locked up for good. Apparently, it used to be a counselor's office back in the 80s. The counselor had gone missing one night after a late shift. Last seen sitting by that same window. Now, whenever I walk past that wing, I can still see a faint shadow behind the blinds. It always looks like someone sitting there, staring out, waiting to be noticed. Which story scared you the most? Comment below and subscribe for more true horror stories.